We're going to plunge straight into the breaking news, and that is that the BBC has decided it will, after all, broadcast the series of Masterchef featuring Gregg, Wallace and Torode. Obviously, the last one they filmed with the two of them. 02078622222, that is the number. This is a series featuring amateur chefs, and it was filmed last year before allegations against the presenters were upheld by an investigation. The BBC says, yeah, we are going to broadcast the series on BBC One and BBC iPlayer from August the 6th, and that the decision has been taken after careful consideration and consultation with the contestants. Earlier this month, a report revealed more than 40 claims against Gregg Wallace over inappropriate sexual language had been upheld, while a claim that Torode had used a severely offensive racist term was also substantiated. Wallace issued an apology, saying he's deeply sorry for any distress caused and that he never set out to harm or humiliate. Meanwhile, Torode says he has no recollection of the incident at all and was shocked and saddened by the allegation. I'm going to start with you, Jonathan, because you are a television director. You will have been involved in many different programmes. And I wonder whether you thought that the BBC were going to say that they were not going to broadcast this series at all.
Well, as you say, working in television, I know how little money there is in television and how skint the BBC is. And so I was pretty sure that when they had this in the can, they were almost certainly going to air it. And what's more, and this might sound a little bit cynical, it's almost certainly going to smash the viewing figure records. A lot of people will watch it. So, yeah, it's ethically dubious. And I think if I was one of the complainants, I would be pretty miffed about it. But unfortunately, the real world doesn't work like that.
So you think it's the BBC putting money first, putting ratings first, even though the whole point of the BBC is they don't depend on ratings, they depend on us to pay the licence fee, and they don't need to sell advertising, and, you know, they don't have to put bums on seats, do they?
I think it is still a ratings game. If you make a show and no one watches it, it's not going to come back again, however brilliant the execs might think it was. And, I mean, that may sound a little bit cynical, but certainly, I mean, money is tight, and these shows, I mean, they're not the most expensive things on television, but they do cost money to make. And if it's already there, it's already in the can, and probably quite a good show. I mean, most of the MasterChef shows are very good.
And sell all over the world.
Sell all over the world. I think that it would be very odd if they decided to pull it all together. There'll probably be a trigger warning.
Absolutely extraordinary. I mean, Sharron, what did you think? Because the publicity has been so appalling and also tempestuous, tumultuous. There's been front-page stories all over the papers for weeks, for months. You know, you feel as if some brands are just tainted.
Do we not think in lots of cases?
You think?
But yeah, I think so, to be honest with you. I think a lot of these stories get extremely big, you know, coverage for sometimes things that you think aren't quite as important as they seem to be made out to be. However, from another perspective, I think actually the contestants' perspective, it would have been a real shame for them if it wasn't aired, because they put an awful lot of work in, and they were either very successful and, you know, did some fantastic things. To shelve all their hard work at the same time, I think is quite a shame.
And it's true that careers in cooking can be made and launched into the stratosphere on MasterChef,
absolutely.
can't they?
You know, for some people that would have been a life-changing opportunity, and now they will still get that.
All right. So, James, you heard Jonathan there say, you know, ethically dubious. I mean, you might say, look, either these guys are not fit to deface the television screen and therefore have to be sacked and cannot be seen broadcasting, or they're perfectly serviceable broadcasters and can do a jolly good job. But you can't really have it both ways and play it both ways, can you?
It is ethically dubious. I do agree that the contestants and the people that work on that show have put so much effort in. It's a shame to just completely shelve that. I guess you could re-edit it. You could stick a little mask on the host.
Well, like people do, like famous people do with their kids. You put a heart emoji over Gregg Wallace and Torode's
I'm
faces.
sure people are watching this and putting a post-it note over my face right this second.
Yeah, I think that's a very sweet way of looking at it. It may not be a post-it note that they're putting over your face. Who knows? But I mean, you know, you might say it's a kind of, you know, having your MasterChef cake exquisitely baked and eating it too, Jonathan. You know, firing them, making a big thing of it. Torode, at least, saying he doesn't even know what he did wrong. He can't remember it. He doesn't think it ever happened. You know, making them walk the plank in this very public way and then showing the show anyway.
Well, that's even more of a cynical point of view. But you're right. I think there is a lot to be said for that. I think they are, unfortunately, money does come first a lot of the time, even with Auntie BBC.
Let me ask you about huge stars of enormously successful shows that, as you say, make a lot of money for the BBC and sell all over the world, and people love and wait for and look forward to. Have you been aware of a culture, not just at the BBC actually, but all over the television universe, of these people being kind of allowed, even encouraged, to develop these huge egos and behave in these absolutely monstrous ways?
I must say, I mean, I've worked in television probably for about 25 years, and before that I was in commercials, and I've never come across really bad behaviour. I mean, obviously you do work with the odd tricky artist, and you do have egos to deal with, but generally speaking, I've never seen anything that goes anywhere near what Gregg Wallace has been accused of.
But have you seen people they've kind of facilitated in having whims and fancies and demands and riders and God knows what, which, you know, ordinary people would... I'm going to ask Sharron in a minute, but I know that she's seen this kind of thing because we worked together on The Big Breakfast in the 90s and we definitely saw people behaving abysmally badly. So just to finish...
I must say, maybe I've been quite lucky, maybe I've been sheltered, but I must say in comedy and also in drama, it's rare. You do have stories...
You said that there are some shockers in the world of comedy. I've certainly heard of it.
Well, I've definitely, we all know certainly one or two spring to mind straight away.
Well, yeah.
I haven't worked with those particular individuals. I've got to say, and I'm not just saying this to be politically correct or nice, I've only ever worked with people that I've really got on with, and I've never witnessed any really, really bad behaviour.
Right, I can't speak for Sharron, but I can sort of a little bit and say we wish that we could say that, right? But we can't say that, can we?
Yeah, I mean, there's all sorts of egos in television, isn't it? I mean, it's an industry which attracts people that have big egos, I think, to be honest with you, because it's quite a narcissistic environment. You know, it's a sort of look at me, isn't it? Well, I mean, there's no doubt about it. So, I mean, our experience wasn't always those in front of the camera. It was sometimes those behind the camera as well.
Here. Yeah. Very true. Very true indeed. And sometimes we wondered how come, as they were behind the camera, they were sort of allowed to behave like that, didn't we? I certainly did.
Yeah, absolutely. It was hard. Funnily enough, we were talking about early mornings, weren't we? And I was saying when I was doing The Big Breakfast, getting up at 3 o'clock every day was hard going. I mean, it was the only time in my life I actually got terribly ill because my life just didn't seem to, work, going to bed at 7 a.m. and getting up at 7 p.m. and getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning.
And I was on the bed with the Hollywood stars. They were very often were genuine Hollywood stars, real A-listers,
Was that on TV or off TV?
On both. I was happily married and totally faithful. Not to say I didn't get invited by quite a few, but I refuse. In retrospect, I wish I had. Once my husband scarpered, I thought, God, I wish I'd said yes to particularly Cool and the gang. The whole lot of them would have been marvellous. But anyway, and a few others actually. But they'd arrive, wouldn't they? Yeah. And some of them were very confused by the whole setup because, The Big Breakfast was at lockkeepers' cottages. They were real cottages. They didn't quite understand the concept. Some of them had been up all night. Some of them had been, inhaling substances. Some of them were drunk. Some of them were just disorderly. And they'd rock in and absolute hell would ensue, wouldn't it?
And particularly, I guess, music industry again, wasn't it? It was. Some people have to have their have their egos massaged, But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm just glad the show's on for the contestants because I think it's a shame that they'd lost it.
OK, will you watch Masterchef? Will you watch the episodes?
I mean, I think everyone will because we're going to be sat there waiting for John to drop the bomb.
Well, he won't on camera, will he?
Or Gregg to drop his trousers.
Right, exactly. I think the problem with the industry, though, is that it does attract narcissists because probably we're all quite traumatised and we all need to fix that. And so a lot of broken people... Well, I think there's quite a lot of...
Well, everyone on television? Oh, nonsense.
I think a lot of people have something they're trying to fix, and that's probably why they're narcissists.
I think you say exactly the same if you work in a minicab company or if you work in the geography department of a school. I don't think people on television are any more damaged than anyone else.
I think people on television, it's performance, isn't it? In a lot of instances. And it's more so now because we live in a world of social media and everyone's performing now, whether it's, even just to their own Instagram account. That part of society has definitely grown bigger and bigger. And once upon a time, it was just purely television or radio. And now it's almost everybody, I think, to be honest. So you've had to become even more outrageous to get on television than you did maybe 20, 30 years ago.
All right, we're going to discuss MasterChef with one of the judges, the distinguished judges on MasterChef. He's also adorned my pink sofa on several occasions. William Sitwell joins us. Hi, William. Thank you so much for joining me. Tell me whether you're surprised by this, whether you're pleased by it.
I'm extremely pleased by it because I know from personal experience, having worked on the show, how diligent and how hardworking all of the staff are. And if you think of all that months of work and the idea that it would just sort of sit in a can and gather dust and never be shown, it would be a great shame. But also, more particularly for the contestants, you've got the young people from variety of backgrounds, many of whom they don't get paid to do the show. They get probably expenses paid, and it's can be a life-changing opportunity for them. And the idea that their performance, their endeavours, their hard work, their stress, their joy, their triumphs literally would just disappear into dust, I think would be very, very sad. So I think for the contestants particularly, but I would also say, and I said this when I was on your show, on your beautiful sofa, even though you still need to mow the lawn behind you.
I'll get round to it. After lunch today, I'll get round to it, I promise.
Well, I was saying last week that, Masterchef is a terrific brand, and the allegations, the stories aside, it is a global brand. It's shown all around the world. It's something astonishing, like 85 countries. And it's not just about any particular contestant or presenter. It's far more than that. And also, I think, and I would say this, but I believe it, that MasterChef is an important cornerstone of British food culture, because it not only reflects some of the developments, but it finds talent that then is a key sort of brick in that cornerstone. So for all those reasons, and the fact that I was on the telly and I wouldn't mind that being broadcast, I'm very happy about the news.
And you don't think there's any sort of hypocrisy, even flagrant hypocrisy, in saying we cannot sully your television screens with these two individuals for 1 second longer? Oh, hang on a minute. Let's just inflict another 20 episodes on you, seeing them in their prime, and then we'll shield you from them for time immemorial. I mean, is that right, or is that just nonsensical?
I don't see a problem in that. If you don't like the show, if you're triggered by anything in it, you can just switch off. There's plenty of other stuff on the telly, or you can sit and look at your phone. I think MasterChef can be strong enough to weather this, and I think it owes the people to do it. So no, I don't see any hypocrisy. I think it's a completely sensible decision. I think if they hadn't done it, it would have cost them a lot of money, purely, if only to find something else to fill the schedules. So there were financial reasons. And I think, most people will enjoy watching it. And I think also, given the publicity, I think you might find that the audiences are absolutely soaring for this. So it could become, that these few series that are waiting to be aired could be some of the most viewed series of MasterChef ever.
Would you throw your hat into the ring to be the new host, William?
Well, of course I would, but they wouldn't have me. I'm far too outrageous. I'd drop far too many clangers. I'd say far too many inopportune things, as you know. Because
I'd like to say that's not true, but I can't. Unfortunately, I can't argue with you on that topic. I have to concur. William Sitwell, thank you very much indeed. At least we'll see you doing your Judgely Huddle, and that will be great.